Oh God, I'm gonna get wet. I'm gonna get very, very, very wet if I go through that. Well, good morning all from a fantastic morning in Snowdonia, Estuary. I'm going for a walk today, hopefully a very scenic walk around the Mouthac Estuary in Barmouth. And while I'm walking, I'll do some talking about things that interest me and stuff I want to get off my chest. Well, I suppose the first thing to talk about today, rather appropriately, is the virtues of walking and photography. Now, I like to go for long walks and I like to bring a camera with me. I think when I go for long walks, I see things in a completely different way. I'm more mobile. I did a video a couple of years ago about this, about the difference between static and dynamic landscape photography. This is dynamic, this is me out and about today. And when I say out and about, I mean going out without any preconceived ideas of how I'm going to shoot and what I'm going to shoot. I just take things as they come, and I take the weather as it comes as well. It's probably going to rain today. I've got some magnificent scenery up over Cadair Idris, fantastic mountain, which I'm glad I didn't climb today because it's going to be in freezing winds, probably hail and all sorts of mist. But just look at the scenery. And I'm out and I'm free of the car and I'm free of a tripod. I've just got my backpacking gear with me and a little bit of food, and I'm full of enthusiasm. And I'm really, what's that phrase, stoked, enthusiastic, full of vim and vigour. And I want to get out and see things that I've never seen before and shot before. And I'll just take them as they come. I'm not going to be too bothered about technique. If I see something, I'll photograph it, and I'll never see it that way again. And that's what you get with these walks. Every one of them's different. The weather's always different. Even if I walk this again, it won't look the same. So getting out on a long walk, the longer the better. Great for your fitness, great for your mental health, and fantastic for your photography. Now, the next thing I want to talk about as I navigate this muddy pathway is the advantage, the virtues of incredibly simple photographic equipment, especially when you're out and about travelling light. Now, I have got with me, and this is the only gear we're talking about today, a Nikon F55. Now, a Nikon F55, I think, is the cheapest, lightest, tiniest, most plastic Nikon they ever made. It weighs virtually nothing, and I've got the kit lens on it, the 28-80, very simple. Got to be careful when you zoom it in case you don't break it. I've broken one in the past. Anyway, the virtues are, it is super simple, very limited zoom range. God, just look at this mud. Very limited zoom range, so I can't be, oh bloody hell, this mud. So I can't be super clever and do those wonderful long mountain shots. But, and apologies for this, but it weighs nothing. It's great fun. It's got snappy autofocus. The lens is actually a good performer. It's actually fantastic when you get to about f8. Superb sharpness. Anyway, why I like carrying it is it brings the fun back to photography, and I've stopped here because of the mud. It brings the fun back to photography. Now, I've got a book recommendation. It's called On Being a Photographer by David Hearn and Bill J. And it's a wonderful read, very slim paperback book. They were real experts and educators. And in it, they talk about the virtues of simple cameras and how they would go out with simple, bloody heck, it's flooded here, isn't it? How they would go out with simple gear and probably get as good a shots as any time they shot with professional gear. And I'd wholeheartedly agree with that. This is photography at its simplest, but still, there's no reason why I can't get good shots. Well, I bailed on going through that. It was about a foot deep. And although I've got fantastic Altberg boots on, which are waterproof, they're not submarines. So rather than have soggy feet, I'll take the longer route. Actually, this is quite fortuitous. I've spotted a dilapidated hut, corrugated structure. Look, exciting. Shooting black and white today. I like the old gnarly trees around it, so that's got to be worth a 50-yard detour, hasn't it? Well, a great old structure. Love the corrugated iron and the dilapidation. I do like the trees around it as well. I do think they frame it rather nicely. Possibly could have done a little bit more by working on it for longer, but yeah, long walk ahead and plenty more shots to get. I think that shot goes to prove my point I made earlier about going for walks, stumbling across things you'd never see before. I'd never have driven down there to photograph that. Not saying it's earth-shattering, but it's still nice. Now, I've often said it that whilst I take a camera out on these long hikes, the hike itself, the walk, is just as important, and a lot of it is getting myself into the right mindset for photography. Now, if my mind isn't right, or if I'm tired, or I'm apathetic, I am not going to take good shots. It would be a miracle if I got anything good. But on a walk like this, when you're coming up through some of the most stunning scenery we have to offer here in the United Kingdom, in North Wales, then I can't help but feel good. I mean, sitting looking at waterfalls and listening to the rushing of water is very therapeutic. And it does something, I think, to our creativity that we probably can't overestimate or even analyse or accurately assess what it does for you. But when you're feeling good, your brain's working properly, the endorphins are flowing around, then you start to see things that you wouldn't normally see. In nature, is a marvellous place to do this. I don't get inspired by doing much indoor photography. It doesn't really interest me. Whereas places like this are absolute heaven and they're so creative. I mean, this is a simple, dilapidated old house structure, but the way the trees have grown up through it, it's almost like they're grabbing hold of it and they're going to pull it back down into the earth. You see all sorts of things, and in ways that you wouldn't if you just looked at a picture on a page. Just before the next spiel, can I just say, this is paradise. This is absolute heaven. It doesn't get any better than this. Take the day off work, nobody here. I'm lost for words. I don't want to get into anything controversial, and I never sort of comment on other people's views or YouTube in general. It's all about photography. But there is a lot of talk about negativity, especially on social media, YouTube and Instagram, etc. Personally, I've never found it that bad. I think I'm very lucky. I haven't attracted too much criticism, and the criticism I do get, I'm just not bothered about personally. I actually find it quite refreshing and funny when people criticise me or make personal comments because they're probably very upset and sad themselves, and I actually feel sorry for them because they're probably missing something themselves. So I have no animosity towards anybody who posts negative comments. It's entirely up to them. But there's one mantra which I do tend to live by, which is I suppose it's quite famous. It's never complain, never explain. I'm not going to go into it here, but basically just take it on the chin, and you don't have to explain why you do anything, and you don't have to resort to fighting back or arguing your case. Just get on and do your photography. Come out on days like this, and if people say bad things, they say bad things. It's just sticks and stones. It really doesn't hurt me. I mean, if somebody was really offensive and set out to intimidate, that's different, but it rarely happens. It's usually just sour grapes and complaining. And as I said, and as I said before GoPro fell over, just let it go over your head and get on with your photography, show the world what you're all about and just have fun. Right then, the last thing I want to talk about today is film zealots. Now, zealot isn't really a very pleasant term, to be honest, to apply to anybody, but there are zealots all around us in all aspects of our life. But I particularly struggle with film zealots because I'm a film user and I love film, but what I don't like is people who will talk as if film is something magical and digital is evil, and people and anyone who uses digital should be cast out and banished from the photography community as if it's somehow heresy. I just don't understand that at all. I mean, taking pictures is taking pictures. I use the iPhone, I use digital cameras, I use film cameras, but you get a lot of hate from certain parts of the film community towards anything other than analog, and it's got worse over the years. People have really polarized now, and people often say to me, you know, why are you scanning your images? Get into the dark room. Well, I have got a dark room, but it's not in operation at the moment because of various reasons. I just haven't got the time, and I'm doing some major work to the house, so I'm not able to do darkroom work, so I scan, and scanning's fantastic, and I use a digital camera. I don't use a film scanner anymore. Oh, more heresy. So I do struggle when people tell me that I'm doing it wrong because I'm using digital techniques or digital equipment or even a digital preview device. But just well, what can I say? Just lighten up. Get out into nature like I am today with views like this. Bring whatever camera you feel like, take pictures, share them with people, enjoy looking at them yourself, and don't worry too much about the technology, and don't be a zealot.
Well, having had a very enjoyable walk up to this point, I do find around this time of day, this is sort of midday-ish now, the sun gets too harsh. It is overhead. You know, it's early in the year, but still, the modelling isn't so good, so it's more difficult to find shots and be creative. Having said that, as I walked across the estuary on the little bridge, the rail bridge, I noticed my shadow, and I thought to myself, well, I'll try something a little bit semi-abstract and include myself in the shot. Not something I would normally do with a landscape or any sort of shot, but I actually quite like the way this came out. I also like the contrast between the black at the base and the texture at the top. So trying something new on the way back with the last few frames, always worth trying. And I did get this one as well, which I like. I like the clouds, the way they mirror almost opposite the sand in the estuary at low tide. Very attractive. But a wonderful walk, all in, fantastic day out, superb exercise, a few good shots, a few keepers I think in there as well. And to round it off, a very nice coconut ice cream. So who could want more? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next one.